Gin is good. And I can say this with some measure of confidence because the first reference to a juniper distilled spirit, which essentially is what gin is, was in 1512 in a book discussing its medicinal qualities. Now, this has been good for me over the last 24 hours because I came down with a sore throat last night, not good ahead of this talk. But it's not just been physical ailments that juniper and gin have been used with. English soldiers fighting alongside the Dutch in the early 17th century observed them drinking Genever, a Dutch juniper spirit. And they seemed to trot off much more happily into battle than the English did themselves after a few of these. And so the term Dutch courage was coined. And this isn't just where gin's military ties ended. While the Royal Navy were serving their enlisted men with their daily rum ration of half a pint or a schooner a day for you Australians, they were buying 1,000 barrels of Navy-strength gin for their officers every year. Mix a little lime cordial with that, you have a gimlet, a great cocktail, but also perfect for warding off scurvy. In other parts of the British Empire, malaria was a real issue, so they gave the soldiers quinine, which had anti-malarial properties. The only downside is quinine tastes like shit. So, the soldiers would add a little bit of sugar, some water, a bit of lime cordial and gin, because why not? And you had the beginnings of the famous gin and tonic. This was perfect for keeping the soldiers both happy and healthy while they were overseas. Gin hasn't always had such a great run of it, though, and it would be interesting if the Baird government was in power in 18th century London, what the lockout laws would have looked like. Because 10 million barrels of bad, cheap gin were being produced every year, and your average Londoner was drinking 50 litres of the stuff every year. Yeah. This prompted this famous illustration by Hogarth of Gin Lane and Beer Street in London and comparing the two. In Gin Lane, you had the mother dropping her baby to her death because she was drunk on gin, while in Beer Street, the beer-drinking, upstanding citizens of London were prospering. Yeah. So it's fair to say gin may not always have been good for you. But it'd be interesting for me to see what Hogarth would reimagine this as today, especially given some of the scenes of my fellow Englishmen rampaging their way across southern France at the recent European football tournament. They give us all a great name. Compare that to the World Gin Day event on the other side, and I think Hogarth would have to really revisit, where Gin Lane and Beer Street sit today. So this brings us to today. Empires still being built off gin, or is Mother's ruin causing the world to go to ruin? It may come as no surprise to you that gin has had a massive resurgence in recent years. 30% growth in Australia in the last 4 years. And it reached a £1 billion industry in the UK, set to reach 1.6 next year. So this has seen a great explosion of craft distilleries here in Australia, making some incredible gins, over 50 in Australia right now, being made in Australia. But it's some of the stories behind these distilleries that I think are as fascinating as the gins themselves. You have Archie Rose, the first distillery in Sydney in over 100 years. You can go to Marrickville, have Poor Tom's. A couple of guys started this off the back of a crowdfunding campaign that reached $30,000, and you have a new gin. You can go to WA, to the heart of the Margaret River, the winemaking region, and there's a great little distillery over there where the head distiller began when he was 14 years old in Alaska in a still that he built out the back of his parents' place himself. That's my kind of guy. You can come back over to New South Wales and an ex-whiskey distiller at Stone Pine in Bathurst. And one of his limited edition gins was actually selected by Noma recently, the best restaurant in the world, for their pop-up restaurant here in Sydney. So I'm asking you to drink more gin, responsibly, of course, but we can raise some money tonight by doing so. When you go to a bar, ask them what's there, what's Australian, what's interesting, how to drink it. Because I get people say to me all the time, I don't like gin and tonic. We've covered off the fact quinine tastes like shit, right? So tonic generally has quinine. It has been scientifically proven that gin and tonic is a great drink. Scientifically proven. True study. You don't believe me, I can tell. So gin's versatile. It can be had in hundreds of different ways, different cocktails, different drinks. Go out there, support this craft industry in Australia. It's a fascinating one. And just remember when you walk out of here that gin is good.